Dr. Fauci. He's quite a celebrity these days, and we appreciate it. I saw you um, on one of the late night shows getting a COVID booster recently at Walgreens. But what we want to talk to you about today, where are we these days? Are we out of any type of danger zone yet? And specifically, how does that relate to the African American community?
Well, I would say we're not completely out of the woods on this, Reverend, because we still are having, with regard to COVID, 350 to 400 deaths per day, even though that's much better than many months ago when we were having 3,000 deaths per day, 4,000 deaths per day. It's still an unacceptably high number, 300 to 400 per day. So that's the reason why we continue to encourage people to update their vaccination by getting the bivalent variant boost, the BA.4/5, that is now readily available, safe, free, and highly effective. Particularly important because as we're getting into the colder months of the late fall and early winter, you have other infections like respiratory syncytial virus and influenza, which noted we should also be getting our influenza vaccines. With regard specifically to the African American community, it is unfortunate but true that the African American community has suffered disproportionately greater with COVID than has the general population for a number of reasons. The nature of the jobs they have, which are essential jobs in society, puts them out into the community at risk for exposure. But more importantly, if you look at the underlying diseases that are due to what we refer to as the social determinants of health, the compromised position that African Americans find themselves in, dating back, I say decades, but centuries, because of the racism and discrimination that have not allowed them to have the health care that in fact is appropriate for them to have, just like anybody else. They have a higher incidence of diabetes, hypertension, obesity, heart disease, lung disease, so that when African Americans do get infected, they have a higher incidence of severity of disease leading to hospitalizations and death. All the more reason why, as much or more than anyone, African Americans should keep updated on their boosters of their vaccines to protect them and their families.
Very well said, Dr. Fauci. You mentioned some of the other things we're facing as this weather changes. Do we need to be concerned about another surge in COVID itself with the change in weather, the cooler temperatures?
That is certainly a possibility that we will see an uptick in cases. I hope that with the number of people who've already been vaccinated, some who are protected because they've been prior infected, and more that will get vaccinated as we get into the winter, that we won't have a substantial surge. To be quite honest with you, Reverend, I think we almost inevitably will see a blip. But a blip is different than a big surge. And that's what we're trying to avoid, is a big surge in the winter. And we can do that by getting as many people vaccinated as we possibly can.
You mentioned the bivalent. We know that with the other vaccines and the boosters, people have still been found positive with COVID. They've tested for it, but the tremendous symptoms and negative impacts, negative symptoms have been mitigated because of the boosters. What about this bivalent? Do we have any numbers on people getting that and still being susceptible to catching COVID?
Yeah, we don't have enough clinical data yet, but you can make a reasonable assumption based historically about what we know when you vaccinate someone with a vaccine that matches very well the circulating virus. You can make a very reasonable assumption based on track record that you're going to get good protection. Myself, you talk about people who are vaccinated and boosted. I was vaccinated and doubly boosted, and I got infected because the vaccine didn't protect me very well against infection. But what it did It certainly protected me against getting severity of disease because I'm old enough, given my age, that it is likely I would have had a much more severe outcome, and I didn't. I had a very, very mild case, almost certainly due to the fact that I was vaccinated and boosted.
So we're safe getting this vaccination, this booster, and getting the flu shot as well. There's no.
No, it's absolutely okay to get both. If you want to get them both in the same visit to the pharmacy, by all means, go ahead and do it. It might be more convenient to do it that way.
Yes, sir. Dr. Fauci, we thank you. Is it true that you are retiring?
I'm retiring from the federal government, but I'm not retiring in the classic sense.
Okay.
So you're not going to see me playing golf anywhere, Reverend. I'm going to be out there doing the same sort of thing I'm doing now, only
Good.
I'm going to be doing it outside of the confines of the government.
Yeah, because we still need you, right? You're clear on that.
I'm not abandoning you, Reverend. I'll be around.
All right. Dr. Anthony Fauci, thank you for your service to the government and congratulations on your retirement. And thank you in advance for your ongoing service to us. As you said, we can still count on you. Thank you so much.